Welcome to episode 4 of the Australia Remembers podcast. My name is Michael Madden. Today we are talking to Chris Dyer. Chris is a co-founder of the charity Cam's Cause. She's the charity set up in the name of Cameron Baird VC MG. Chris is one of Cam's good mates from his childhood. We had a really good discussion. He's a really nice guy. The amount of work they do raising money for Commando welfare is unbelievable. Chris just got back from a trip to the Kokoda Trail where they raised a bunch of money for the cause, which was really good, and we talk about that. Today's episode is brought to you by TPI Victoria. That is Totally and Permanently Incapacitated Veterans Association of Victoria. The best way to support TPI is probably to buy the book, Victoria Across Australia Remembers, from their website, TPI Vic. All proceeds from the sale of that book go directly to TPI. TPI Association has been around for over 90 years, set up by World War I veterans. It is an association which provides advocacy and support for totally and permanently incapacitated veterans. It is a association which is extremely close to my heart. The TPI Association has done more for my family than I could possibly ever thank them for. They are an ageing organisation and they need a lot of support. So please, if you can in any way, go to their website and support them. Buy the book, that helps. Anything you can do to help TPI. Probably the most important thing is to talk to veterans and their families and let them know that the TPI Association is there and can help them. Part of my journey writing the book, The Victoria Across Australia Remembers, was with Cam's Cause and helping to set up a kind of symbiotic relationship between TPI Victoria and Cam's Cause. The two charities kind of work almost as sister charities now. They've got a really good relationship. They work hand in hand and are looking at doing a few projects together in the future. It's a really nice relationship. Doug Baird, the father of Cameron Baird, I can consider a good friend. Same as Chris and Dan and Andrew and all the boys down there. Really, really good people. So please, if you can support TPI Victoria and or Cam's Cause, please do. They are very, very effective charities, so your help will make a difference. So without any further delay, I give you Chris Dyer.
We are at war with Japan. But a failure will make him inch by inch, and that he shall not enter upon our country.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
All right, welcome to this episode of the Australia Remembers podcast. With me, as always, is Gordon Trail, Iraq War veteran, TPI soldier, Canon photographer, unfortunately, still allegedly legendary chef, still hasn't cooked me a meal. And how are you, Gordo?
Yeah, good, thanks.
That's right, mate. Also, we've got our special guest today, Chris Dyer from Cam's Cause. How are you, Chris?
Good, thanks, guys. It's real honour to be here, mate. Been looking forward to it. So,
yeah,
definitely.
Thanks for coming in. I would have introduced you before this, but just tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a firefighter, which
it's firefighter at Greenvale Fire Station at the moment. So I'm on holidays at the moment. So it's back on shift on Sunday. But just recently got back from the Kokoda Trail, which was a great experience, which I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about. So love my job and just happy to be here, mate. So.
Quiet time of the year, is it? Firefighters?
Oh, there's always something going on. Yeah, there's always, in summer you have your grassies and your bush fires, but then, winter you'll get your house fires and your kitchen fires and that sort of stuff. So always something going on, mate.
Yeah.
It's a good job.
Yeah,
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Cam's Cause. Chris was, you're part of the setting that organisation up back in the day. And
It's I had the privilege of growing up with Cameron Baird, obviously our nation's 100th Victoria Cross recipient. I had the privilege of saying he was, my best mate. We were very close from a young age. So after Cam was killed in Afghanistan, a group of us wanted to come together and make sure that we just honour and remember his life. You know, he stood for a lot. He stood for so much. Lived a life with, you know, a lot of morals and virtues, and was a great role model for everyone. So we just wanted to get together and celebrate that and honour it. But then it started to stem a little bit further. So we wanted to recognise, you know, all the 41 guys that were lost in Afghanistan. Further to that again, you know, as we know, there's you know, up around 500 with permanent injuries, and then further again with, you know, unknown number, thousands with mental injuries. So, you know, we really wanted to just raise awareness, pay our respects to the Afghanistan campaign, and you know, all the money that we do raise goes straight towards the 2nd Commando Regiment, which assists them with their wellness programs, which get the Commandos serving and ex-serving, get them together and helping them open up and get back on their feet, you know, the guys who are struggling with physical and most of all mental injuries. So it's a real honour. It's our way of, I suppose, showing Cam how much he was loved and respected and missed. And yeah, we get a lot out of it, so it's great. And
it's only a small organisation, isn't it, Cam Scores? There's only 2 or 3 of you in there that sort of run it.
It is, yeah. It started off, there's 4 key members. There was myself, Andrew Harrison, Dan Carroll, he was a good mate of Cam's, come on board. We started to get a bit bigger. Rick Green jumped on board. He's a good mate of Cam's and ours growing up. Doug Baird, Cam's father's our president. So we work closely with him. So yeah, we are a small charity or a non-for-profit. We started to bring other members in. We've got members of my family doing, you know, the treasury role, and we've got some ambassadors all around Australia. My brother and his wife up in Queensland. We've got Royce Crawn down in Tassie. We've got Brendan Nelson on board. Richard Rolfe. We've got some really key players coming in.
Some good people amongst that.
Some fantastic people. When everyone's got the same common goal, just wanted to do our part and help where we can.
So when you say the money goes to 2nd Commando Welfare Trust, is it right?
It's so we started off donating to the Commando Welfare Trust.
Right.
When we become a non-for-profit, a standalone charity, we're still involved with the Commando Welfare Trust, but we, knowing a lot of guys in the regiment, you know, through Cam, and we now heavily donate directly into the 2nd Commando Regiment. They've got a human performance wing, which looks after rapid recovery and reconditioning and rehabilitation. So they're the ones who design the camps. Like Cam's course doesn't design them, but we've got the ability to raise the funds and fund them. So yeah, a large percentage of our money goes straight towards straight to the 2nd Commando Regiment. So and the good thing about being a small charity is, you know, you're looking at 100 cents in the dollar is getting to where it needs to go. As charities, as we all know, charities get bigger and then admin fees and overheads start popping in due to the fact we're all volunteers and small. You know, we can keep them away. So 100 cents in the dollar goes directly where it needs to go, which is great, you know. So and that's, yeah, we're looking long into the future and you know, it's something we want to do forever. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
When did you first meet Cameron?
Kindergarten, yeah.
That long ago?
Kindergarten, yeah.
Wow.
Our mums were good friends, so we became very close. Yes, I think we were probably 4 years old, and then we went through primary school, then high school together, and remained close right through our adult life. So obviously, Cam moving from Melbourne to Sydney up to Holsworthy, you know, we didn't get to see each other, you know, every day like we used to, but you know, it was like a brother or a family member or a best mate. You know, when we did catch up, it was really special, and you know, we were really close up until when we lost Cam. So it was a big loss for us, and especially, you know, members of my family. But yeah, he's definitely missed. So yeah.
So what was it like growing up with Cam? Was he one of the was he a naughty boy, or was he a good guy?
Definitely not. He was your typical lad. We always used to, you know, get up to a bit of mischief here and there, but generally, you know, he was just so focused on football. You know, It was, you know, even suppose when we got into our teenage years where we'd be all out, you know, mucking up, being lads, he was very focused. You know, he knew who he was from a young age. You know, he was, you know, I'll constantly try and explain it to people. He was well advanced mentally than we ever were. You know, he knew who he was. He had no insecurities about who he was, and he knew what he wanted to be. And at the time, that was a footballer. So very committed. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, ate healthy. It was all about football. You know, so but you know, he had that serious side, but, you know, we'd always muck around and you know, have a lot of fun along the way as well. So he had a boisterous laugh and you know, those who knew him would know what I'm talking about. You knew he was in the room because he'd light it up, you know. So
he was certainly well known through the regiment and even probably the entire Defence Force in Afghanistan. From like you read his book and talk to other people, everybody seemed to know him, and he kind of reminds you a little bit of like different people, but his persona was sort of a almost like a Derek Diver type, Albert Jacka type. There seems to be one in each war that, you know, you had Jacka, then you had Derek Diver in World War II, and perhaps Dasher Wheatley in Vietnam, and Cam seemed to be of a similar sort of standing or held with similar sort of respect amongst the men. Yeah,
definitely. You know, since his passing, you know, I've been privileged to meet a lot of the guys who've served with him, and talking to them, they all look up to him, and they all set the standard to what he set. You know, they're constantly talking about, you know, you're talking about an elite group of people in the 2nd Commando Regiment. All these elite people are then looking up to Cam, and he's setting the standard. So, and every time you talk to someone, they're always constantly saying, "Oh, Bairdy did this," and we'd look to Bairdy, and what was Bairdy doing, and you know, so. Which is not surprise to me because he was always like that growing up, you know. Like
it's the same on the footy field. He's just
everything he did, everything he touched turned to gold, mate. He was, you know, a Victorian shot put champion, Australian discus champion. You know, no one could get near him on the footy field. You know, we used to have coaches telling our coach to take him off and give the other guys a go.
Right.
You know, and then he tried his hand at basketball, and you know that was always one thing I thought I had on him. You know, I thought I was a basketball, he was a footballer, and then he came to basketball and he'd beat me at basketball. You know, so everything he touched, he would turn to gold, mate. You know, so.
Yeah. So Lee, I interviewed. You mentioned Andrew before. I interviewed Andrew in our book.
Yep.
And he talked about one thing that really stuck in my mind was when he was coaching Cameron at primary school level, even that he was not interested in self-glorification or anything. He'd literally just say to Andrew, look, I want to make sure the other blokes get a shot today.
Yep.
I'll take the ball out of the ruck, kick the first few goals so we get in front, and then I'll just stop getting it.
Yeah, 100%. And then that's a great example. I mean, you're talking about someone in grade 5 or 6. You try and find a grade 5 or 6 person with those sort of thoughts and you know, that sort of head on their shoulders. And
it's not normal, is it?
It's not. It's definitely not. And that, again, that's no surprise, but that was just who he was, and that was who he was throughout his whole life. You know, very selfless, you know, empathy for other people, and those I constantly say morals and virtues, but he had things that people, adults these days, you know, try and better themselves. He had all this naturally, you know, and that's what made him the person he was, you know. So.
So with Cameron, when he came back from overseas each time, and you'd obviously catch up and have a beer or two, because he would have had a beer.
Yeah, Bundy drinker.
Then, yeah. And did you notice anything? Did you notice that Cameron had changed any, or was he still the same guy that you grew up with?
Yeah, I honestly can't say I noticed any change. Again, he didn't talk a lot about what went on. We had a couple of beers a few times. We're talking twice that I remember where, you know, it was just me and him, and he shared a few stories. But I can honestly say I didn't notice a change in him, and you know, even his family, Doug and Kay and Brendan, you'd have to speak to them. I don't even know if they did, you know. But one thing I do know is that talking to guys from the regiment involved with the wellness program, you know, one of their big things they concentrate on is when people get back is how they, you know, adapt back into normal life. But Cam had a lot of outlets. He had, you know, his guitar, his hot rod, fishing, you know. He loved to go on the beach, that sort of thing, which they say is they're key components to guys transitioning back into civilian life. So where a lot of guys might make the mistake of coming back after the, you know, the intense fighting that over in Afghanistan and sit in a room and wonder and ponder and, you know, get lost in their own head, where, you know, Cam was very proactive. So I think what went on in his own head, I don't think anyone will really ever know, but I definitely didn't see any signs of cracks appearing. So
Was he as bad as on the guitar as I've heard?
Depends who you talk to. I used to always give him a bit of crap when we were older. Say, you're terrible. We used to spend a lot of time in his room. He'd be playing away, and I can't play the guitar to save myself. But
can you sing though?
Nah, it depends. When I'm drunk, I reckon I can sing. In all honesty, he was very good. He could strum away, mate. He carried that guitar with him everywhere, especially back at school. He'd have teachers take it off him because he'd just be carrying it around with him and playing. He was good. I've got to give him that.
That famous video of him that I just love.
And he jumped up on the table.
Yeah, after his mate was killed in Afghanistan. I think that was the same day his Medal for Gallantry. Actually,
that was the day he was awarded. Yeah, well, he earned his Medal for Gallantry. He's standing
up on the table and singing Time of Your Life,
again,
Green Day song.
Yeah, and again, talking about a guy, that was when Luke Worsley was killed, a great mate of Cam. So to see, a good mate of yours killed, then to come back and do something like that for, not just for him, but for your team, to get the team up and about, again, shows exactly the sort of person he was, like a lot of guys would have been. Who knows? I don't think, he just showed the leadership that he showed. So
if you watch that video, you can see how deeply the men are drawn to him.
Yep.
The admiration they've got for him, that they're just cheering him on, and you can just see that.
Yeah.
You just look at. It's interesting if you look at their faces, the way they're looking at him, and the way they're joining in. That was a special moment in Australian history that was captured.
Definitely was. I remember getting a phone call from a guy who was there present, and he told me the story, and then he went and resourced and got us a copy of the video, which was amazing, but he just said everyone in that room was just in awe, and you can, as you said, you can see it when you see the video. They're just looking up at him. Some guys are on their phones filming it because they knew, I think it was a piece of history that was going on right there, talking about a guy who just earned his Medal for Gallantry, the third highest award for bravery, and then to do that for his team, was
still working.
Yeah,
it is 100%, mate.
You could see his leadership there and then on the spot.
Yeah.
Like he brought that group together,
yeah,
which could have fractured if he hadn't have done that jump up on the table and get his guitar out and start singing.
And as I said, the guy just witnessed one of his best mates being killed. So to compose himself and still be just leading his men is, that's just who he was.
It's interesting to read, if you read Cameron's book, Commando, Ben wrote it. He talks about that period, how important that was in 2nd Commando's history, that was a period that was either going to make or break the regiment, that nobody really expected them to become what they became.
No.
And it was that, like what I said, that could have easily broken them.
Yeah, yeah.
But he seemed like
galvanised them together.
Yeah, he was like a linchpin. And that period, I think, right up to his death is what created what's going to be what is now undoubtedly Australia's 2nd elite special forces unit.
Yeah, definitely. And again, having the privilege to meet a lot of the guys from 2nd Commando Regiment, some really high-ranking people and some big players in that regiment. A lot of them say, Cam was a big player in making the regiment who it is today. Going from 4 RAR Commando to 2nd Commando Regiment to what they are today. They said he was without a doubt one of the key figures that brought him to light. So again, and I don't think you speak to a lot of them. They're not after the light or the glory, but I think they deserve the recognition for what they're doing over there. Yeah, and
with all due respect, of course, to SASR, when any Australian talks about Australian Special Forces and the elite of the elite, they automatically think of SASR, but 2nd Commando is starting to come into people's minds as really the equal.
Yeah,
a different role, obviously, but
And I'm the same as you. Again, complete respect for SASR and what they do. But yeah, it's great to see the 2 Commando Regiment starting to get a bit of that recognition because they definitely deserve it.
Yeah. So when you were setting up Cam's course and you went, tell us about what you did. Did you go and speak to the commanding officer of the regiment, or
no? I think that over time. So when it first started, it was an idea that we just wanted to remember Betty. We just wanted to get together, have a few beers, get some local people, and just annually make sure that we're never forgetting his story. What evolved from that was we said, let's raise $5,000 and we'll donate it to the Commando Welfare Trust. what stemmed from that was I think we raised $37,000 our first fundraiser night. But what went on after that was
That's a pretty amazing
I
money.
remember the day after, we were just sitting around and we'd done a quick tally and we were gobsmacked, because a lot of good people come together and put their hand up and wanted to help. And that's why Cam's cause is a kick in the goals we're kicking, is because constantly we're getting approached by people who want to help, and over time, obviously, through Doug and Kay and Brendan, and then members of the regiment who we've met throughout this journey. And I think it took a while for Cam's cause, and rightly so, to earn the trust of the 2nd Commando Regiment. So we probably had to prove that we're not in it for any glory for ourselves. We just want to help. And that takes time to get that trust.
And when you got that trust, did they open the doors to you guys to go in there and see the recovery wing? And
100%, yeah.
So what was your first impressions when you first saw that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. Like the R3 room now, we're proud to say that we've purchased a lot, a big bulk of the gear in that room. So to walk in there and see it in motion and working and dealing with one of the guys in there who's looking forward and planning it all, to be a part of that's amazing. To know that, we've got their trust now, and that relationship is growing and growing, and it's a great feeling, and we're privileged. We feel really privileged to be a part of that, So we're up there in a few weeks. They invite us up there again for their stakeholders day, where we get a lot of hands-on experience and get to go through the regiment and see where Cam lived and worked, and it's a real privilege. Is just the only word you can use to be invited up there. So yeah, it's an honour.
So you just we were talking a little bit before about you just got off a plane the other day. Back from a really epic trip.
Yeah, I'm still coming to terms with what went over there. We were lucky enough to organise a Kokoda trek we ran under the Cam's Cause banner. Kokoda's always something I've wanted to do. Both my grandfathers fought in New Guinea. My mum's father fought on the track. So it was always a bit of a bucket list item for me. So to then organise it through as a Cam's Cause fundraiser was amazing. So we got back last Sunday, and it was. I was explaining to Gord, I was just you can't describe it. You cannot describe what it means to be over there on that track. It was the scenery, the people, the spiritual side to it, the emotional. It's completely undescribable, mate. So,
and how long did the trek take? So it
was 10 days all up.
Yeah.
So
you're camping on the ground and the whole lot.
So we flew into Moresby, and then we went we went the south-north direction. So we left from Ower's Corner, walked up to Kokoda, which is the way the 39th Battalion went back in the day.
How far is that?
So that's 96 kilometres. So yeah, it's a tough 96 too. And I've got to say we had good conditions for it too. So we didn't have much rain. The track was still slippery, but we had great conditions, and it was still very tough and very grueling. And I can highly recommend it to anyone out there thinking of doing it. It was amazing.
So who'd you go with? Who was your
So we went through through Kokoda Spirit. Wayne Weatherall runs Kokoda Spirit. I cannot talk highly enough about that mob. I approached a lot of different organisations when I was thinking of running this, because I wanted to run it as a fundraiser. And a lot of great organisations out there, but Wayne from Kokoda Spirit come up straight away and said, all right, I don't know who Cam's Cause is. I know what yous are about. For every person you sign up, I'm going to give you $1,000 straight back. So at one point we had 31 deposits paid to come. We ended up with 23 people. We had a few people drop out just due to personal circumstances. But so Wayne, before we even left, wrote us a cheque for 24 grand. He ended up giving us. So which was amazing and generous.
Thank you, Kokoda Spirit. Well done.
And not just it wasn't just the monetary value that they gave us; it was the service they provided. Wayne's very passionate about, honouring the Kokoda track and making sure that what went on over there 75 years ago, 76 years ago now is never forgotten. This is you watch a lot of documentaries, and the diggers that were over there, they want to make sure that their story's not forgotten, because there's a lot that went on over there, and it was the battle that saved Australia. So. He does a fantastic job at honouring those guys and telling the stories, and he looks after his customers along the way and offers a great service. So
were they mainly school children or
no? So we had people from
dynamic
all around Australia. It was really. We put the ad out there on our Facebook page, and people come, and we had people from Darwin, Queensland, Cairns, Adelaide. We had a big bulk from Australia. A lot of close group of friends all jumped on board. So we had 23 trekkers, and then Wayne obviously was over there with us.
And then they paid their own way, these people?
Yeah, 100%. So everyone paid their own way and then did further fundraising. And, again, at the end, we ended up tallying it up and we raised about 55 grand out of that. So
it's extraordinary, mate. Well done. Yeah, congratulations.
It was amazing I'm so proud of, all those people involved, those 24 people that tagged along and done their fundraising. If we had got 15 people and raised 10 grand and walked the Kokoda track, I would have been ecstatic. So to get 23 plus Wayne, 24th trekker, and walking the Kokoda track raising 55 grand, with Cam's name on our back. We got some shirts made up with Cam's name, and it was amazing, right? It was, to say the least, it was amazing. So
yeah, I saw some photos when you were over there. It looked like you went and saw Kingsbury's grave there at one stage, Kingsbury VC.
100%. I was thinking of you guys when I was over there. So we got to go to Bamana.
Isarava.
Yeah, so we went to Bamana first and saw all. You guys have been to Bamana. You've seen, I think it's over 3,000 headstones there. So Kingsbury's was the first one I V-lined for. I wanted to get a photo there.
Yeah. That was a great shot too.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. So I think there was two VCs, one in New Guinea, I believe, but Kingsbury's was the only one on the Kokoda track. Yeah. So so to go to see that was fantastic. But then Isarava which is we do two services along the way, one at Brigade Hill and one at Isarava. Isarava to go to the rock, which is obviously still there, where Kingsbury earned his VC and was killed by a sniper. There's a rock there and a plaque recognising that. So we had a service there, and we read out some poems and some readings. But then I got up and it was probably the biggest privilege I reckon I've had was to read Cam's VC out to the group, and then explain a little bit more about what he done that day in front of Bruce Kingsbury's rock, where he was awarded his and his VC was.
I've got goosebumps.
Mate, it was absolutely amazing, mate. It was extremely moving. And then we, which was really special. We played the last post and read the ode, and we played Brothers in Arms. We out the Bluetooth speaker, which was dedicated, not just to Cam, but again to all the 41 guys, and of course the diggers that fought on the track, 76 years ago. It was probably one of the most moving moments I've had in my life, mate. It was amazing. So
and just that track, and the soldiers that were on there during World War II, it's just
Is it something?
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
is this something you think you'll continue to do? Like do it again?
I think so. We've already had inquiries. People asking, are you going to do another one? And I think we definitely will. It's a very spiritual place, and it's just like I'm missing it now. I've been back for nearly 2 weeks, and I'm just to get off the grid and just be over there and know what went on over there. It's you honestly can't describe it until you see it. It's amazing. I think we will do another one for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing it. But you're obviously a pretty fit bloke, being a fiery. How hard, honestly? How hard is it?
It's hard to describe. I think it's overall it's hard, but it's a combination of the physical side to it. Some of the climbs we do are steep and unbelievable, it's the mental battle too. You constantly got to be concentrating because there's not really a track. You're walking up tree roots a lot of the time, and so you've got to be switched on and looking where you're putting your feet. So, the physical side of it, I'd say anyone can do it. You could hang back and catch your breath, and everyone will get through it. But then you combine the emotional side. There's a lot of highs and a lot of, the brain's just constantly in awe of what you're seeing. So I think that's draining as well. So you put that side to it, the physical side. You're doing it pretty tough sleeping at night. You're not getting the best night's sleep.
Tell us about that. What's that like? What happens at night time when you finish for the day?
So night time was great. You get around every day you walk into a campsite, which you just look around and think, wow, like beautiful crystal clear creek running through, bright green grass, village huts, and we camp in little 2-man tents. Everything's it's true blue cooking, mate. Like around the fire, and the porters do an amazing job. But yeah, we're on a foam roller mattress, and
you had to carry all that with you.
Yeah, well, if you get a porter, your porter carries a lot of that gear. But we've got our day packs, which is still up around 10, 12 kilos. So you blow up pillow, and it's not the best night's sleep, but it's still pretty cozy, But and you're up at 5 every morning, and what's good is every night around the fire we do a debrief, and everyone will talk about their highs and their lows, So, and that's where the emotional side comes out, because then you're just getting out what's going on in your head, and there was a lot of tears around the campfire, a lot of positive tears, but people were talking about stuff they were thinking and lessons they were learning, and it's a life-changing experience, mate. It's amazing. It really is. So.
Well, for you having your grandfathers there, so were they, what battalions were they? Do you know?
My mum's mum was part of the 19th, so they weren't part of the Kokoda campaign as such. They went in after, they went back in 1943 as part, obviously, once the Japanese, they didn't just go away, they were still coming back and trying to take the track. So he worked as a signalman up and down the track. And then my other grandfather was part of the 62nd, which were airfield protection over in Morocco. So, it was, and my mum's father always constantly spoke about the Kokoda track. And
did he?
Yeah, so obviously, they'd walk up and down it, running the lines, and I think they were based up in Oivy, up near the northern beaches in the end, but constantly spoke about, the fuzzy wuzzies and, the track and the pawpaws and all that sort of stuff over there, mate. So I carried his medals, which were fantastic, and at a laminated photo of him not long before he passed away, but also back at his time in New Guinea. So it was really special, mate, to be over there, and yeah.
So you would have felt a real connection to the place.
Definitely, mate. It was, in every way, it was amazing. It was.
So even after all these years of, so many people have done that track, they haven't beaten out an easy path or anything. It's just
definitely not. And that was one of the things that surprised me. I thought it would be. I think it's 0.05% of the population in Australia have walked the track. It's not as commercialised or even touristy. It's still very untouched and quiet over there. You got a fair few organisation mobs that are running tracks over there, but I was expecting to be bumping into people left, right, and centre. But it's a lot of the track we had to ourselves. You see a group, maybe one a day, but it's still very untouched. It's and that's the beauty of it, and the villages are just pristine, and it's a lot of the time you'll be walking and you can just you look up and you see the trees and you think this is what it would have been like for the 39th walking across it back in the day, So
do people bring their mobile phones and iPads and crap with them, or do they tend to put them away?
No, that's one of the most refreshing things is you're off the grid, mate. There's no no phone reception. It's awesome.
That's got to be good on its own. I think just to totally disconnect.
It is. It's obviously not being able to communicate with family. Like, I've got my wife Beck and me 2 little girls at home. It's tough not being able to communicate with them, but to be off the grid and not have to worry about emails or it was very refreshing, mate. It was great. It was amazing.
So when you went into the villages, how was the reaction to the Aussies by the villagers?
Oh, mate, they love it over there. That's one of the. I've been lucky enough to travel a fair bit around the world, but I can honestly say the local New Guinea people, the Papuans, are fantastic. They're so genuine, like they're just happy to see you. They're you walk in and they're just the kids come running up to you, and I took bookmarks for the book and stickers of Cam and just gave them out to the kids, and they'd be running around laughing and just having an absolute ball. And it's one of those things we're constantly talking over there as a group about, you look at these kids and the families, and obviously they're compared to what we've got over here, they've got nothing, they've got their villages and they've got each other, and they're happier than we are, mate, and it's really, it's a bit, it's refreshing to see, and we always be saying, well, how do you implement that in Western society? You can't, but it's real. It's
you get distracted so quickly over here, don't you? You can try and take those virtues and ideas and bring them back, but there's so much noise here.
Yeah, that's it. We're all talking about our own kids, and they've all got iPads, and they're all constantly saying, they're bored or they want to do something, and the little kids over there have got nothing, and a lot of the guys took footies and blow up beach balls, and you give them to them, and mate, they were ecstatic, They were just having an absolute ball, running around chasing each other, and it's a beautiful place. Can't talk highly enough about it.
Yeah. Doug Baird, I'll talk a little bit about Doug, Cameron's dad. Yep. He's just a ripping bloke, isn't he? I mean, the amount of work that he does, and Kay and Brendan as well. Doug constantly puts himself out there.
Yeah.
It can't be easy for him. I've had the privilege of doing a number of talking tours with him, for my book and other things. And you can see when he talks about Cam, people forget how fresh it is. Cam's only been gone for 5 years.
Yep.
Doug speaks openly, honestly, courageously. It's easy to see where Cameron got his courage from, isn't it?
Oh, so true, mate. If you're lucky enough to ever meet Doug and Kay and Brendan, that doesn't take long to see why Cam was the person he was. Doug and Kay are just two amazing people. The strength they've showed since losing Cam has been amazing, and so admirable the way they've had that huge loss in their life, but then they stand up and they use it to try and inspire other people and help the other families through and raise awareness. Like Doug's heavily involved with everything we do. Thinks he's sinking his teeth right into it and just wants to get the story out there and help help where he can. And it's amazing. We spoke about earlier about Cam when he got the guitar that time after Luke had been killed. Well, this is just a different version of that. What Doug and Kay are doing. With their loss, they're standing up and they're trying to do positive out of it. And that family, Doug, Kay, and Brendan, cannot talk highly enough about them. They're amazing. They really are.
Yeah. When Cameron did his shoulder, obviously a true blue like his old man.
Yeah.
Carlton supporter.
Yeah.
That's all he ever wanted to do. And we're outnumbering Gordo here, he's Essendon, but Chris, we're Carlton, which is a little bit tragic at the moment.
Not looking good at the moment.
Did he talk much? Had you ever heard him talk before that day that he missed out on the draft about the Army? Did you have any inkling that he'd be interested in that?
No, I always knew he had a strong respect and admiration for the Australian military, definitely. Doug's father served and Brendan served. But no, honestly, it was football, mate, until that happened. And, one thing which, I've spoken to a lot of people about, which I still personally can't put my finger on, is after missing out on the draft, why Cam just didn't say, all right, he's a resilient bloke, he's tough, and he's taken setbacks before in his life, so why he didn't just get back up and go around again is still, I think it's a big question mark to this day. But yeah, he never mentioned the military. It was always just about football. So I think even to his family, I think it was a big shock where he said, all right, not going. No more football. It's the military now.
Just put it aside.
Yeah.
Just put the whole thing aside.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is, because talking to a lot of guys, Len Hanna in particular, was a lot of people might have seen Len on the Australian Story. He was one of our teachers through high school. It had a lot to do with the recruitment through the Kokoda Cannons and that sort of stuff. And he said himself, Cam, would have went round again and might have been able to work on some leg speed or a few other aspects, but he would have got drafted.
He would have made it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
And you got guys that played AFL that second that will say that they thought he would have been. Next Wayne Carey was one thing that Jude Bolton said. So I have no doubt he would have got through. But no, he decided.
Carlton's lost, mate.
That's right, 100%, mate. Yeah,
Carlton's lost.
Things might have been different now, mate.
Well, it wouldn't have been. It couldn't have been any worse. That's for sure. Yeah. So, what's the goal for Cam's cause in the future? What's the obviously you're talking about doing another trek, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, we're just taking it each day as it comes. We know that we're in for the long haul. We want to continue to grow and to continue to support, the 2nd Commando Regiment and honour the Afghanistan campaign and the loss that come with it. So we're still as passionate as ever. Our passion's growing, so we're not going anywhere in a hurry. And, next year we've got our fundraiser coming up, October 20 at the Keilor Hotel, which is our bread and butter. That's how we first started. But we've got a lot of things on the horizon. Definitely another Kokoda trek will be on the cards. We want to branch out. There's a few RSLs around Australia that we're keen to have us there and do a fundraiser night. One up in Sydney. I know Box Hill RSL, who were fantastic, are keen to get us over there. So we'll just keep doing what we can, where we can, And,
so that fundraiser at Keilor Hotel, what's involved there, mate?
So it's a blue collar night, which is the way we like it. It's a local night, so we basically the Keilor Hotel. We'll have music, we have auction items. We usually get a comedian. Mick Malloy and Limo have been there a couple of times and done gigs for us, which have been fantastic. Richard Malloy, Mick's brothers, a fantastic help for us. He always tries to source a comedian for us. auction items, just a few beers, some music, and just we pay tribute to Cam and a few stories. We talk about what we're doing as a charity and where we're going, what we've got planned. We just try to raise as much money as we can, and they're a really good night, and it's a local night too, which is great. So.
Cam was a big AC/DC fan back in the day, wasn't he?
Huge, mate, huge. So we usually get a piper to come out and pay tribute to Cam, play like Amazing Grace, but then he also, which was done at Cam's wake up in Commandos. So there's a bit of a pause, and then the bagpiper will start playing a bit of AC/DC, which is it's good. It's a good way to. We don't want people to be crying. We want them to be up and about, and it's a good way to pay homage to Cam. Definitely.
I think Doug takes. Credit or blame for that. He dragged him to a concert or something, didn't he?
I think so. Back in the day, I remember being down in Cam's room. You have the AC/DC money. They always drop the AC/DC cash down when they play money talks, and he had that from a young age. He was into all these bands from a young age, which I was just like, what's this sort of music? And I think Doug had a lot to do with that.
So the book's been the Commando. The book's been redone as a paperback soon. Has that happened yet? Is it?
Don't know. The cover's all been sorted. I don't know when it's been released, but it'll be another exciting moment. It's a really good book. Ben McElvee's done a fantastic job, and look forward to it.
So tell us a little bit about Ben and
I actually just finished reading it for the second time.
Yeah,
last night.
He's done a fantastic job. He really has. A great guy. He came down to Melbourne, and I was lucky enough to have a chat with him and give a bit of an insight into what I can offer about Cam. But I think he's just hit the nail on the head with the way he's written the book. He's definitely paid respects to Cam and the Baird family, so he should be proud. He's done a great job, definitely.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And can you remember when you heard Cameron? I'm sure you can. Silly question.
Yeah.
But can you talk about when you heard that Cameron had been killed and what that would have been like?
Yeah, without a doubt, the most devastating day of my life. We were up in Echuca. We got a caravan up there, and we had a bit of our annual man trip up there. So we were up on the weekend. We had a big weekend, and I remember I woke up. It was about 4:45 on the Sunday morning, and my phone was on silent, and I had about 3 missed calls from Brendan, and then a text message which was straight to the point. They just said, "Chris, you got to call me. Cameron's been killed in Afghanistan. Don't tell anyone because the name hasn't been released. If you can just give me a call as soon as you get this." So I walked outside outside my caravan. It was still pitch black, and rang Brendan, and he was obviously just distraught and just just said, I just remember him saying, "They got him, mate. They got him. He's gone. I can't believe it." And I was in shock, and didn't know what to say. And after got off the phone to Brendan, I just rang me mum and dad straight away, and without a doubt, the most devastating moment of my life was to hear that. And
I think you read Ben's book. He illustrates quite well, I think. And one thing he does say is obviously Cameron's death was no sadder than the death of any of the others, but it was felt probably more deeply and with an element of surprise where people just thought that's impossible.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I knew personally what sort of work they were doing over there, and you knew it was a possibility, but to actually get that news was like...
He had that aura about him. I think the same thing when Dasher Wheatley was killed in Vietnam, a lot of people just, no.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's not...
I think so. It's been said by a lot of the guys who serve with a lot of his superiors, like, not that Cam's life is any more important than any of his soldiers, but you look at him like he was bulletproof.
Yes.
And
that's what Ben means when he talks about that in that book, that he's not saying that he was more important.
Nah.
He was regarded probably as bulletproof, and he was that real leader.
Definitely, and his team looked to him, so I think I can't imagine what his team was going through to lose that iconic figure, it was...
And what I found touching too was like Cam had that famous war paint that he war paint's probably not the right way to describe it, but the paint that they put on the face, he had a certain mask that he liked to put on, and I think their next action sometime after, which was their last, I think, the entire regiment painted themselves. Yeah,
I think it was the Bravo company guys went out on one more mission. I think it was after that, and I think from what I've heard, it was it was a bit of a nothing mission that they went on. There was no full combat and no contact, but they all painted their faces in honour of him. So and there's a little patch that gets around too. A lot of the guys have got a patch which I think they wear now. It says was it WWBD, which is what would Beardy do? So a lot of them still look to, and I think they still act and think like he's leading them, and they think, what would he do? And he's still leading his men, now, so it's the impact that he had on his team, I think. So
because he was, from memory, resisted promotion and that because he didn't want to be taken off the pointy end of the spear, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what's been information that's been relayed to me, was that he was up for to be promoted to sergeant, but that would have taken him away from his team and off the front line, so to speak, which I believe he was not too keen on.
He even asked to be demoted.
Yeah. I think you read that in his book,
they just laughed at him.
Which they would just laugh at him and say, mate, you're talking about a guy that should be fast tracked, not demoted, and.
But that speaks volumes. Yeah, like even back to his footy day, that he'd much prefer to be there with his mates and taking the elbows in the middle rather than...
Again, just true testament to the bloke he was, and there's stories going around that, say privates in his team, which would be sweeping the floors, he'd come and grab the broom and say, I'll do it, mate, it's all good, he'd lead by example, which me personally, that's something I always, take away from Cam, is it's not about yelling at your blokes below you, it's about showing them and leading them and guiding them, and Cam was an amazing example of that for sure. So something I try and take from that in my job today, and something I'll always try and take away from Cam. So
I've got to ask too, that photo of him, what's the photo they take when they
get you to sit down in front of the Australian flag and just you look straight at the camera.
This is before deployment, the one that the media always show. I've got to ask you what you think of that, because it's the only photo I've ever seen of Cameron where he's not smiling.
Nah, and look, you ask anyone who knows Cam well, that photo is not a good depiction of him, who he is as a person. He was full of life. He loved to smile for photos, so for him not to be smiling in a photo was bizarre. But the photo is what it is, and it's been he's now a very recognised photo.
Well, that's its purpose, isn't it?
That's right. And complete respect for that photo. But for those who know him, it's not Cam. It's not Cam at all.
Yeah, I think George Petrose captured him really well in his
the one of him in the bunker there with the. Have you seen that one? Yeah. With that
and
famous
paint. That sort
cheeky
of half
grin.
smile.
Yeah, and that was him.
Yeah.
That was always him. I could show you school photos, and he'd sort of rock up. When you get your personal one done, and you'd sit in front of the camera and he'd just be sort of mulling around and they'd say, all right, you ready to smile? And he'd just bang out this big cheesy grin. It was that's what he was famous for. But that photo, it's a weird one, but it is what it is, mate.
Yeah.
Who cooks when you're on the Kokoda track?
The porters,
they?
Mate. Yeah, they do an amazing job too. They walk around with the bare necessities, and they whipped up donuts one night and a birthday cake for one of the girls who had a birthday on it. And the food was surprisingly awesome.
Because that's important to me.
Yeah, mate. Well, it's I've come back about 6 kilos lighter, so the food was healthy and you're burning energy. So it's a good weight loss program as well.
So if people are interested in doing that, because if you've raised 55 grand off that one trek, your first crack, that is absolutely. Mate, credit where it's due.
Yeah, mate.
Well done, and congratulations to everybody involved.
Yeah, mate.
Because that's probably just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do if you. Yeah, it's extraordinary.
It far exceeded anything I was. I mean, obviously, Wayne Weatherall from Kokoda Spirit was a big player in that. That was 24 grand before we even started. So, but another 31 from the guys. These are the guys who went out and done their own fundraising through their GoFundMe pages and. Unpack
that a little bit. So what's expected, not what's expected, but how did they do that? How did they manage that?
So, when we first started, when we'd send out the information in conjunction with the Kokoda Spirit package, we just said, look, it's a fundraiser. So if you can do some further fundraising, it all goes towards soldier welfare. We didn't expect people to do what they did. If they had to raise $100, it would have been great. If they had to raise $1,000, great. Some guys are raising 5-6 grand by themselves, So, to calculate it all up at the end of the day and get to a tally of around 55 grand, and there's still some coming in, So, I couldn't be prouder of those people. I really couldn't. I can't thank them enough. To do it for Cam was amazing. It really was.
Yeah. So how's that money used? So you push it on to the Commandos.
Yep. So we'll literally just let the guys know there's money in the account. You just know what you need for I said to them, start booking wellness camps. There's money there for you guys to run more.
Tell us a bit about the wellness camps and how they work.
So they're designed by the 2 Commando Regiment.
Yep.
And basically what they're about is getting the guys back closer to nature. A lot of extensive research on how to treat people has gone into these camps, and they find things like, camping, making bows to go bow hunting, fishing, kayaking, surfing.
They make the bows.
They make the bows themselves, yeah. Then they go hunt with them. We buy compound bows from them as well to go hunting. And just getting back closer to nature, and getting them together is the big thing. They're not going to open up to guys like me or you who haven't been there over there doing the work with them. They're a breed to their own. They're a brotherhood, so they only relate to each other. So getting them out together, they start talking. There's also professional help. So there's counsellors and padres and psychs that go and try and get them to open up. And they're finding what that's doing is like any depression or anxiety or that, it's about talking to people, and gets them talking. And one of the last times we're at the regiment, one of the padres came up to us and said they're having some great results and they are working, they're helping people, which is amazing. So the money that will sit there, we'll just say to them, run the camps, and we just purchase the accommodation, all the gear, and it's there for their disposal. So
right. That's so important because obviously Gordo could talk a lot about this, but coming back, literally being in the field and seeing the things you see, and and then coming back, and next thing you know, you're driving your kids to school, and you're picking up groceries, and it's a unit like Commandos where it's just pure alpha males, right?
Yeah.
It must be difficult to reach them and for them to disconnect from it. And I think what you said spot on, that they need that unity amongst themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Where they can feel comfortable.
You go from high tempo war fighting and as such, and then you're back in reality within 3-4 days. You fly out and you're back to take your kids to school, or you got the TV, just turn it on. Things like that.
Ice straight out of the fridge, and
yeah.
You had a good story about when you came back, Gordo, and Freo, you guys sort of hit it pretty hard, I think, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we didn't have any alcohol when we were in Iraq at all for the time.
How long
that
were you over
was
there for? How long was the deployment?
Yeah, 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah, and when we came back, we got into Perth around about 8 o'clock at night, and by the time we got off the plane, we were staying in Perth for the night. We got a hotel room, and I can't remember. I remember having my first 2 bourbon and cokes, and after that, I can't remember it. Next minute, I'm getting kicked in the guts. I'm back in the hotel room. I wasn't the only one drinking, mind you, all of them. And we got to the airport, and there's all these diggers from 5-7 lying around on the floor in the airport. They're all got hung over, and then we had a 3-hour trip from Perth up to Darwin, and and all the guys were meeting their wives and girlfriends, and some of them come off really bad.
Yeah, a lot of cobwebs.
One of the most amazing things happened on that plane ride was just before we were touching down in Darwin. The captain come over and he goes, "Look, we've got some really special people on board today." And he said, "We've got a bunch of guys coming back from Iraq," and the whole plane erupted in thunderous applause.
Yeah, that's great.
Just
rightly so.
Wow, it's really
it's so touching. Different today, isn't it, than what it was? Back in Vietnam and days like that. And
it is. Yeah. It's good. It's good to see.
And it's through Cam's Cause stuff that you're, given funding to help these veterans get back on their feet. And it really does prove that there is. And the Padres, they know they're the ones at the nitty gritty. When when they're down and out, you'll go and speak to a padre for sure.
Yeah, and what's special about the camps that the guys are running? You know, you got to give them credit. Like, they're not only the guys that are still in the regiment. One of their key focuses is the guys that have been, for example, medically discharged, making sure they're not just sitting at home. It's for serving and non-serving commandos. So they've got their slogan, Commando for life, you know. So they're getting not just the guys that are still in, they're getting the guys that, hey, you're still a commando, you're still a brother, getting them back together. And, you know, I think the problem is that there's too many guys being left by themselves out, you know. So, the guys in, you know, the Human Performance Wing, 2nd Commando Regiment, you know, hats off to them. They're showing some great initiative. So.
Yeah, and that's what Michael and I have spoken about, you know, personally about getting, you know, with these podcasts is to maybe reach some of those people who need some help there, and that there is life after returning from a war zone, isn't it? So.
Yeah, so what advice would you give, you know, somebody in that space, you know, who is feeling a bit lost and hasn't reconnected with the regiment?
Yeah, like anyone in life, you know, if you just reach out to your mates, that's what they're there for.
Yep.
You know, the Commandos, they just talk to each other, you know, open up and, you know, realise that you're not alone, I suppose. You know, that's the key thing, you know.
Where's the best point of contact for them through?
Well, you know, we've had people contact us and we can steer people straight to where they need to go, which is great. But yeah, just even say for Commandos, you know, reach out to your team leaders and your guys in the regiment, because the camps are there and they're there for you. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, as I said, we've had people contact us and we've been able to steer them in the right direction. So it's just about reaching out. That's all it is. That's the hardest thing, I think, is reach out. You know. So
did you see Birdie between deployments?
Yeah,
you did. Yeah. How was he? Just normal?
Yeah, just normal, mate. It was you know, he was going. He had a lot of, you know, personal things going on, especially in the last couple of years. He had obviously a separation and then lost his sister-in-law. So, but so our, you know, catching up in person the last 2 years wasn't as frequent as what we would have liked. But, you know, we're always on the phone. You know, it was only yesterday I've still got his Facebook messages from when he was messaging me, you know, 3 weeks before he was killed. So something I can never get rid of, and we'll just organise and, you know, saying it's been too long, we're going to catch up. But when I you know, speak to him, or if he did pop down to Melbourne in between deployments, as I said, yeah, he didn't show any signs of cracking to me, you know what I mean? But
did he ever talk about his medal for gallantry?
Once he spoke to me about it.
What did he say?
That was when we were, I remember, at the Gladstone Park Hotel, and he basically gave me a bit of an insight as to, it was just me and him sitting there, and he told me what happened that day. And he mentioned the medal for gallantry, but it certainly wasn't like he was spruiking, because, you know, people who know, he actually was going to decline it, you know. So
a lot of people don't know that. He wanted to knock it back.
Yeah, and, you know, it's one of...
speaks about that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, he was, you know, again, shows the humility he had, you know, like was going to be wanting to be awarded the 3rd highest medal for gallantry, and to decline it because he just thought he was doing his job, and just shows the person that he was, you know. And to be honest, I remember that it's not a regret, I suppose, but I remember we were sitting at the Gladstone Park Hotel. I wouldn't know, back in the time, to be honest, I didn't know what a medal for gallantry was. So I wish I had that time again to really, you know, show my appreciation, I suppose. But it was just two mates chatting about stuff, and, you know, I was none the wiser back then. It was just yeah. But
what do you think he'd make of the VC? I mean, obviously, do you think he would have taken it? I know that it's interesting that the decision came down to the family, and that's different. They did it on behalf of the regiment. Yeah,
I think it might have been very similar personally. My opinion is it would have been very similar to the MG. So I think he he definitely wouldn't have wanted the publicity that comes with the VC. I can guarantee you that. He wouldn't wanted the praise, but I think what it would have done is, for his regiment, for his team, and for what's going on over there, I think maybe at the end of the day he would have taken it. So, and rightly so.
Commandos never had one up until then.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, guys talk about when it was handed down, and, you know, they were ecstatic, you know. And for those who have seen the day that Doug and Kay were presented the VC, you know, they turned around and straight away pointed down the back and you know, dedicated it straight to the guys, which was again, you know, amazing.
That was a beautiful acknowledgement of the boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Doug and Kay.
And again, shows the sort of people they are, you know. So, Cam's living on through them, and it's something Cam would have done if he was to receive it. He would have turned around and said, "This one's for me boys," So
did you know what the Victoria Cross was before?
Yeah, 100%. I always knew what the Victoria Cross was, and true stories. I remember when Cam was always playing football, I just thought, Cam will play AFL and he wouldn't have Brownlow. That was my thought, and I can promise you, my family's life. I remember when he got in the army, I thought he'll probably win a VC. Obviously we know a lot more about the VC now after Cam's won it, but I always knew what a Victoria Cross was.
So when did you first find out that he was going to get it, and how did that sort of unfold?
I actually remember hearing about it when it was handed down over the radio, and I remember straight away I messaged Doug. I thought, is Cam getting the VC? And when Doug confirmed it, I couldn't believe it. It was a weird feeling, because I remember it was so much elation and pride, but it also brought back, like, it was almost like I was being told he was killed again. It brought back all this emotion again, and pride and sadness and happiness all at the same time. It was real. I remember it was a weird day when he won it. I just couldn't believe it, So
at that stage, did you have much of an understanding of what he'd done?
No, I've been told through family and friends what had gone on that day, but had no idea it had been cited for a VC. Definitely not. So, and then learning more about it after the fact too. I think even if you read Cam's citation, and it was one of the things that I spoke about to the guys over at Isarava, I read his citation, which was amazing, but, I then passed on information that I'd been told, and that was, he didn't just get the VC for charging a doorway 3 times, which probably would have got it for him anyway, but, people who were there on the day believe, that third time that he charged that doorway, he knew what he was doing. I think he knew that more than likely it was going to cost him his life, but I think
his weapon was failing by that stage too.
Yeah, but I strongly believe that he made the decision, I'm getting this doorway, because he knew there was Taliban coming, and if it wasn't dealt with quickly, then his team would have been surrounded, and more than likely other people would have been killed. So I think that third time he was like, I'm getting this doorway for my team, and I'm more than likely going to die getting it, but my team's going to get the initiative and they're going to move on, and that's what's amazing, and that's what I truly believe he was awarded the VC for. And if you talk about the citation, from what I've heard, it went up and back very quickly. So signed off by the Queen and got back very quickly. So,
and the key point is, and it's with all VCs, that he had options that day.
Yep.
Right, like he could have just called in airstrikes. He could have pulled out. Yep. He did have some viable options.
He definitely did. Yep.
But he took the hard road.
Yep.
The right thing, and it was a PK they would take. He was trying to run down.
Yeah,
wasn't
PK
it?
machine guns. Yeah. Yep.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I know.
How many rounds have they put out?
And he was
hundreds.
And he, as I said, he knew everything that was going on that day. He knew his options. He knew what he was dealing with. He knew the threat. He knew the fact that it was a doorway, a heavily guarded doorway, which the chances of getting through that alive aren't good. But I honestly believe he made a conscious and level-headed decision. I'm going to clear this doorway for my team. I'm more than likely going to get injured or killed. But my team's going to get the initiative, and they're going to live, and they're going to move on. So to lay down his life for his mates is, how do you put that into words, mate? So I don't think the citation captures that part of it.
They never do.
No.
They never do. It's interesting to. I mean, there was a lot of fighting right up to that point too. Where just to get to that point took a lot of work and fighting and the fact that it was so close to the end of the deployment, it's kind of heartbreaking. That it happens so close. But I remember in the book again, somebody I can't remember who it was, talks about the fact that they probably think it's one of the best ways you could possibly go out at the end of a deployment, the end of an action, to lay down your life for your mates right at the end of the war. It's kind of fitting in a way.
Well, it's a true warrior's death, isn't it? I think that's what those guys, that's what they want. They respect it, It's, and it makes it, when you read that, and you think about it, it makes the hands stand up on the back of your neck, It is purely amazing.
Different breed of human being.
They are, mate. And,
As we said, that the Commandos are alpha males. They really are. And then for Cameron to stand out among that bunch of blokes in the way he did, he was something. He was something extraordinary.
And you talk about that, the alpha male group, and and it helps you sort of understand why they struggle when they get back. Because you're talking about, as you said, a group of alpha males over there doing, as much as they're laying down their lives on the line. They love what they do. They're going out every day, doing what they love to do, hanging with the boys. How do you come home from that? And come home, and as you said, then all of a sudden you're in charge of looking after her, making sure there's enough ink in a photocopier, or taking the kids to school, or getting and the book, Ben really captures that in the book, which I think it helps people relate to that. So
it's dangerous.
And you've got to look at Bairdy was on his 7th tour of Afghanistan within a couple of years, so...
Yeah. That's the other thing people don't realise is, the sheer volume of work that these guys did, because it wasn't, they didn't have the numbers, so a lot of them just had to redeploy. I mean,
like they would have came back from deployment and started training again for the next mission of going back there, and it was just like a washing machine.
Yeah. Well, one of the last messages I got from Cam on Facebook, he just said, "It's my home away from home." He loved it. And it's hard reading those messages, but there's something I'll never delete. He loved what he did. And he died young, yes, but he lived a very full life. That he lived a life that people could live to their 100 and not achieve and tick the boxes that he's ticked. So amazing.
Yep. All right, Chris, thank you for your time. You've been very generous with it this morning, Gordo.
Just Cam's Course website.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Tell us the best way people can support Cam's Cause. Obviously, they can buy the book. Yeah. Could be one way.
Yeah, definitely. But if you go to our website, which is www.camscause.org, it tells you a bit about us and what we do and where our money goes. Obviously we've got our Facebook page. Feel free to have a look. And we just really, I suppose it's, we just want to thank all our supporters out there. We can put all these ideas together and fundraisers and Kokoda treks, but it's not until the people get behind us that it goes anywhere, So we really got to say thank you to all our supporters out there, definitely.
Yeah, one of my favourite birthday presents I received was Cameron Baird statue. It's amazing.
Yeah, they come up great. They come up fantastic.
Amazing. How are they going? Because there was an unveiling of the large statue at the Commandos RSL last year, and so there's miniature statues too, isn't there?
There is. So if you go to our webpage, you can see we're still selling the mini ones. The mini ones were a little sub-program which we wanted to then fund the larger one. So if you go to Commandos RSL, you walk in the doors, you'll see a big bronze life-size statue of Cam, which was without a doubt one of our proudest moments to do that. For the Baird family. Andrew Harrison, you got to take your hat off. He was one of the key initiators for that. Wanted to see a statue of Cam in Duncan Kay's lifetime. And the thing about the statue, which is really special, is that you get around to the memorials, you see a lot of World War I, World War II, Vietnam statues. I don't believe we have to wait 50, 60 years to start putting statues up around Afghanistan and Iraq so the statue doesn't just represent Cam, it represents the Afghanistan campaign. And as we continue to say, one of our key aims is, honouring all the 41 guys. We want to make sure those 41 lives are always remembered, plus the guys that are injured and the effects.
Who did the statue for you guys?
There's a guy named Clive, Naked Army. They had a big and what was it, Australian Bronze. I think they're based over in Hong Kong now. But Naked Army were fantastic, and they did a lot of the design and the mini ones. It was a lot of obviously Cam's Cause funded the statue. It was a really proud moment, and it was a result of a lot of hard work. So
it was a great day being there.
It was again one of the most moving days to see that statue unveiled was great. So
yeah, all right, mate. Anything else you want to talk about? Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the website and Facebook page as well if anybody's interested in doing the Kokoda track again with you next time.
Yeah, pop us a line, mate. Always.
And definitely about the big fundraising at the Keeler Hotel in October.
Yep.
I'm sure Michael and I will come up with something that you can auction off for the night.
Yeah,
I think we're more than happy to provide some images or.
I think TPI Michael Williams we're going to catch up with him soon. He's keen to come along, which is the great thing about everything that's going on with the book, you know, you got just the networking guys like yourselves, and you got all these people who are just out after a common goal, and that's to raise awareness and help where we can. And it's fantastic to see everyone working together. It really is.
Well, that's one good thing that's come out of our project, our book, is that there's a bit of a symbiotic relationship now between TPI and Cam's Cause.
There is, yep.
Working together closely and how do you reckon you go on the Kokoda track, mate?
I'd struggle a little bit. I'd have to do some training. But,
you get there, mate. You'll be fine. You'll be right.
I'll be right. I mentally, I could do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
well, you never know, mate.
Hey, watch this space, eh?
Yeah. Well, one of the good things we did when we went to Hancock's in London, we had actual Cam's Cause
I see that.
shirts
that was
on.
awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I got one on today.
Yeah,
I actually got a Cam's Cause shirt on today. So,
and the logo.
The logo, Aspire to Aspire. We didn't talk about that either.
That was one of many quotes that Cam had, but that was one of his standout ones that was always in his locker, and that's what he lived his life by. Again, from a young age, always just not telling people how to do it. He was setting an example physically and showing people what to do. So aspire to inspire. We all try and live by it now, definitely. So
look, the world's poorer for his loss.
They are.
We lost an outstanding young Australian that day, and all we can you just left wondering what could have been, what he might have become. But I think it's better to look at it as had he not been there, had he not did what he did, the outcome would have been unthinkable because he saved a lot of lives that day.
I believe he did, definitely. Yep.
And that's something which everybody can take away, and his legacy will live on forever, the work that his old man does, and you guys at Cam's Cause. And if anybody is looking for a good read, grab the book, Commando. It is a rip and read. He's an outstanding Australian. Chris, you're doing him proud, mate. He'd be proud of you. Obviously, it just shows what sort of effect this man had on people.
Yeah, definitely.
That his mates and his family are just doing everything they can to make sure that he's remembered, and that, more importantly, that he's continuing to help his mates. And that's one thing
definitely
that strikes me about Cam's Cause and what you guys do. If you look at what he did that day, what he was trying to do, as you said before, that he no doubt knew probably what was going to happen the third time.
Yeah.
He went through that door. All he was trying to do was help his mates.
Yep, 100%.
And through this, he's still doing that.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant.
Yeah. That's
bloody brilliant, mate. So good on you, and good on everybody down there, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, we often say that, if he saw us getting around with T-shirts and stubby holders, he'd punch us all in the face. But, he'd be embarrassed by the limelight. But I know for sure if he knew what was coming out of that, awareness and funds for his soldiers, I know he'd be very happy. So that's what keeps us going, definitely.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, Chris. That was great.
Thanks for having us on. It's been a real honour to be part of this, mate. It was, the book's amazing. You guys should be very proud. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you for having us on.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
All right.